Hey, you guys, I am so excited to bring you today the Fluency Awesomizer. We've got teacher Sean Pelan in the house, and he has come up with some super clever tools for us to use as teachers, parents, or tutors to draw our kiddos' eyeballs into the tricky words of our English language. So he is building a product called the Fluency Awesomizer. And it's not only awesome because it really gets our kids to pay attention to the sounds and words, it gets their attention on the visual symbols that they often overlook. And it's teaching them morphology and vocabulary, and it's fun and quick, and it's free right now. So it's really cool to welcome Sean Pelan from the Fluency Awesomizer. And I'm going to say hello to some folks, and then we'll let Sean tell us a little bit of background about his background. We've got Tara here, welcome, and Greg's here, Jen, and Jennifer. And Jennifer's saying, Sean, thanks for coming. Can you see that, Sean, on your screen, the comments?
I can.
Okay.
I can, yeah.
So, yeah, and Mackenzie says, I'm excited to hear about this. Okay, so we'll be bringing people in. If you just popped in, I've got Mr. Sean Pelan, the Fluency Awesomizer. He's got some really clever ideas to hook our kids' attention into reading tricky words, like what's the difference between detriment and determined? It's very subtle. And so how are we going to draw our kids' attention to that? So I'm honored to have you here, Sean. Thanks for being with us. Tell us a little bit about what you've done and why you're doing the Fluency Awesomizer.
Well, let me say first, thanks for inviting me, Marnie. This is literally a thrill for me.
Cool.
Happy to get a chance to share with everybody. So hello, everyone, and hope you stick around. This is really fun stuff that I'm sharing with you tonight. Yeah. I am a longtime teacher, second, third grade. I started in the year 2000, and ever since school year 2008, 2009, I've been noticing an issue that has compounded and existed until now, and it really is never going to go away. And it has, children today are not growing up learning patience in their life experience. And it's having a detriment. You speak about detriment. It's having a detrimental effect in the classroom and their ability to problem solve. There's a lot of impatience and impulsiveness. So I've got a project I've been working on. I call it the Fluency Awesomizer. It has a couple of components, and what we're going to take a look at tonight are two of them. You're looking at this is a component I started in the beginning of December. I've done a lot of research based on miscue behavior of second and third graders in the last 11 years. And I've chewed up this language to about an 8th, 9th grade level, and I've sorted all sorts of data, and I've got a lot of data of miscue research and a lot of patterns that have emerged. And based on all that research and the fact that December rolled around, and I thought with all this social media and the fact that report cards have come out and by November for everyone, people are now having the conversation of, yikes, I think my child is having a problem reading.
Who's heard that?
I'm talking about grades 2nd, 3rd grade. 1st grade, you're going to have a wide variety of reading ability in 1st grade. 2nd grade is when, I taught 2nd grade for 10 years. So I know that's when problems arise. And so I looked around in December, and I was tutoring several students this year, and I had the time to delve into social media. I started writing these passages based on the research. And I thought, if I just start publishing a few every day and putting them out there every day, I don't have to worry about my own community. I can reach people all over the nation, really all the English-speaking world. And I just kept doing it and became a focus of my daily routine. It was the first thing I would do every day. So by now, I've written so many of these passages. I've got a notebook full of them now.
Okay, wait, show that again. Let me make this hide. So show us again the notebook. What you guys just saw, like that detriment determined, which we're going to read, a tongue twister we'll read in a second. He's got one for every one of those pages. And these are challenging ways for kids to pay attention to print and be really careful about what they're reading. So yeah, that's exciting. Tell us more.
So I started publishing and using social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, obviously, and Twitter. And just hoping to get some feedback, get some followers, spread the good news, and share the good word, and hopefully people will tell. It makes me think of the old shampoo commercial from the 70s, and they told two friends, and they told two friends, and then when the quarantine happened in the middle of March,
wow,
I thought, well, this is extraordinary. Putting aside the severity of a virus, the world was handed a situation where everyone now has to homeschool. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, now there's an enormous audience, and why don't I start some videos and some instructional videos taking into account what I know about this generation, which I want to describe in just a moment. So that was the flashpoint for the component of these videos that we're going to look at tonight, which I've been publishing and putting out there since the middle of March. And so I've created a YouTube channel, and so yeah, that's what we're going to look at tonight. The two components of of a venture I call the Fluency Awesomizer.
It's awesome. It is awesome. So let me just give you guys a sneak peek. Check this out. Isn't that just awesome? What kid is not going to want to see what's behind all this? I'm going to be, and so these are short 5-minute videos that focus on multi-syllable word reading instruction. But we're going to not head there first. We're going to first head to, if my computer is agreeable, we're going to head to the print versions. Okay. So, Donnell says she's going to be teaching second grade next year. That's where these skills start to be developed. And they either come away from second grade well prepared for third and fourth grade, tricky words like detriment, or they are really stuck. And many of you, who has seen your upper level kids not be able to really attack multi-syllable words because they're missing sounds and they're adding sounds. So this says, well, Sean, let me pass it over to you. What would you do with this passage? And we're going to read it at some point so that people get it and not just catch our talking.
Well, before I look at this particular passage and a couple more like it, I want to give a clear picture of why I started writing these, and I'm adapting to a generation of students I call the 21st century child. Mm-hmm. That's not really a dynamic name, I know, but no one seems to be talking about it. And I don't believe that the education world has adapted to this child. Now, this year's graduates, they should be walking across the stage this month. This year was the group this year are the results of the 9/11 baby boom. They entered the world in 2001, 2002. And they're among the first human beings, well, let's be blunt, the first humans to now live life entirely within the technology age. And there are a lot of new factors in place when you grow up in the 21st century. They don't learn patience. Kids today do not learn patience. If you and I think about how we acquired music when we were teenagers, it's a different story than how they do it today. We learn patience. I used to ride my bike to the mall and then walk through the mall to the record store and go alphabetical through the records. And there was a lot of work involved, and we just took it for granted. And I'm not even bragging, but today you get it, the click of a button. Today's kids, they haven't learned patience, but they've learned that gratification is instant, and that other people will solve their problems for them. All right, and they learn this before they enter elementary school. They have several years of people solving their problems for them by the time they enter elementary school. Parenting styles have changed in the 21st century. As a reflection of that last comment, parents will move in. We've sanitized their environment. Playgrounds are safer. All sorts of innovations have taken place, and blame us adults for that. But we've made we've made the world childproof. All right. There isn't as a result, kids don't have much grit or determination today. We have to take this into account. Kids look, curiosity is low, creativity is low, anxiety spikes very easily. Okay. There's a lot of fussing and arguing, fighting. Certainly now with homeschooling, right? The old adage, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, that doesn't apply anymore to this generation. They are products of our innovative world that we live in now. We take it, we appreciate things for innovation, the innovations that they are. Kids just don't know any better. It's their normal world, all right? They're very literal thinkers. Today's kids have a really hard time with math because math is very abstract, all right? And you have to teach, if you're going to be a successful educator in math and reading, you have to take into account that kids do not think abstractly anymore, with obvious exceptions. The generation is very literal. They have obviously short attention spans, all right? So probably the biggest effect, and this is a working theory of mine, I don't claim to be a neurologist, but brain development is being delayed as a result of growing up in the 21st century with all of these gadgets, right? And iPads and on down the line. We unknowingly give today's generation of kids access to these gadgets in infancy, all right? So where all of this is coming from is my personal belief that the educational world has not adapted to this generation. We're doing things the old way, and we have to innovate. We have to teach in new ways. So I'm striking out, trying to come up with a new way of I don't even claim to be teaching how to read. So let's look at the passage and I'll explain further.
Yeah, let's go for this, the first one there.
Yeah. So today's kid, as a result of all of these factors, they give up and guess easily. So a word like detriment comes along. It's likely that a majority of a class of second or third graders will say determined. So the way this is designed, I put the two words detriment and determined in a lot bigger font. So you're drawn to those two words first. And my direction for you when I post these is to read those first.
Okay, detriment, determined. Got it. The teacher or the child?
I want the child to read it out loud.
Good.
And that's a consistent message. A consistent message of mine is I want parents and educators to listen to kids read out loud more, because I think they're going to discover that they're guessing. The anxiety with these multisyllabic words spikes really quickly, so they'll guess. And I'm coming in with my research, and I'm saying there's a pattern to the guessing behavior. So I'm matching the word detriment with determined, because there's a couple of things that can go on with a long word like detriment. Think of detriment and all these other multisyllabic words we're going to look at as a running race. All right, I'm going to make the analogy of a running race. All of us can start a race strong, but whoever wins that race is the strongest runner. A lot of us get tired, winded. So notice that in detriment and determined, the first three letters are exactly the same. Everyone in this generation is going to give you the first syllable. All right, that's almost a guarantee. From there, that's when things can go wrong. So in the word detriment, some of the miscue behaviors that I've identified include the R can be reversed. All right, the I can move around. The N can reverse. That's a very common behavior. And look at the end. Detriment, to turn it into determined, you thought of detriment as having an ED ending. The ED ending has three sounds, all right? So when I talk about brain development being delayed and impatience, a student will, today's 21st century child will read, here, they're reading in a book, whether it's information or literature. Along comes the word detriment. Determined. They guess and they move on. All right. And you need to, when it comes to the ED ending, your responsibility is to patiently reflect and say, well, there's three ED ending. There's not an ED ending in detriment. If you reverse the two words, put determined on top, you'd have, it probably makes more sense to look at it that way. You need to recall that there's three different sounds to the ED ending. And today's generation is going to give you the first guess, and they're going to move on. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of miscue behaviors going on in detriment. Now, I pair two words like that, and then I'm coming in and I'm writing a passage based on all the behaviors I just identified, the letter T, the letter R, and N.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend time, this is kind of like writing poetry. I spend a little time and I come up with a list of words and I put them into a passage. And this is an important detail about my work. I don't care about comprehension. I'm not trying
for
to
these activities.
right. I don't care about comprehension.
Right.
This is a confrontation. I'm designing these as confrontations for readers in 2nd through 6th grade. Beyond, these problems can linger, and first graders, you know, if they are advanced readers, then it can go behind 2nd grade. The first, even I'm working with a kindergartner right now and on these because he needs to be challenged. Anyway, the passage, your demented termite wants to be trim. You'd better deter it or you'll get a demerit. I meant to deter mine, but I forgot. It'll need a reminder. I'll need, there I go, inserting a T. I'll need a reminder or a timer. All of that is by design. I created these as a confrontation. The two multisyllabic words, I know the reader is going to be confronted with a word, but more importantly, what I predict is going to be what they guess. I predict they're going to guess determined when I put the word detriment in front of them. So that's the confrontation. And then in the passage is the practice. I'm forcing your brain to recall all these little rules and letter combinations, phonemic awareness, morphology, all of these things. It's like a toolbox that you need to open. And I'm coming in, I'm saying the generation doesn't open the toolbox. They give you the first guess and they move on. So it's a challenge for the reader. And again, I'm not concerned with comprehension. Poor comprehension is the problem I'm trying to solve. My simple message to the reader is, can you read this out loud from start to finish? That's it. It's that simple. And it's so,
and slow is fine at first because we're aiming for them to take care. And what I always say here at Reading Simplified is we want those kids to be looking at the inside parts of words, like the tri in detriment, and the min in determined, and demented. How's demented different than determined? All that really precise work is easy for the mature adult reader, but it's hard work for our kids. And actually, a lot of our reading programs early on encourage them to guess. So we, if that's been the case, and even if it's because of, living in 21st century lives, whatever the case, if we have these kids guessing, we have to have, I like this idea of this confrontation, a confrontation with print, and really challenging print. And it becomes like a mouthful. It's almost like a tongue twister. I think most of these make me smile, at least, and some of them made me laugh. So I think that's great. What else is there anything else that you would do with these passages, Sean? Oh, and then maybe we can show another couple.
Yeah, look at one or two more.
Okay.
I know I gave a long-winded explanation before.
No, this is good. Yeah.
Well, now I can apply what I explain. I can apply to these now quickly. So,
great.
Like I believe I mentioned, I've chewed up this language through an 8th grade, 9th grade level, and I've got data. I've got another notebook full of data on all the miscue behaviors that emerge when you do the amount of research that I've done, listening to readers for the last 12 years, collecting their miscues through running records, through anecdotal notes. And so I'll pick a word like appreciate, and based on the fact that I've spent so much time examining the language, I'll look at appreciate and I'll just know that of any other sensible words in the language, a young reader who's in a rush, who's impatient, will confuse it with, there's two pronunciations, apricot or apricot, depending on where you live. So I picked appreciate and apricot. Now, the big thing about appreciate and apricot, and you may not have guessed it already, it's the letter I. That letter I call it the lost I.
Yes, multisyllables, right? Especially, right?
That letter I causes a lot of problems, right? So appreciate, there's two vowel sounds in that IA vowel pair. I mean, you and I and the adults watching know this already. But have you taught it in second grade and third grade? Have you isolated that particular vowel combination?
Right.
So think about Brian and brain, or go brain first. Brian's not going to come around a lot, but you're going to read the word brain a lot. And today's generation, I'll say 3 out of every 4 kids who are 8 years old are going to look at the word brain and say Brian. They'll reverse the A and the I. So that IA is a thing. I've identified it. I don't stake a claim to it as my own, but I just haven't, in my experience, 20 years in education, no one's ever talked about this kind of stuff. So looking at appreciate apricot, there's the confrontation. Then you go into the passage. And again, my message is simple. Can you read it out loud from start to finish? It appears Kate was reciting the citation when April pricked her ear. She didn't appreciate the perk. For now, it's pierced. It doesn't make sense.
No, that's fine.
Not it's literally. Short. Yeah. But
and so, we got the question, Sean, how long would you typically spend with this?
I design these
for the student.
Yeah, these passages are a work in progress, and they're designed for 5 minute, not 5 minute, 10 minutes tops.
Yeah.
Read one or two.
Yeah,
one or two, and then come back to them the next day.
Yeah, I agree. So everybody, wherever you are, I haven't really studied this ahead of time, but I'm going to read it out loud, and you read it with me, okay? It doesn't matter who's in your neighborhood watching you, and just whisper it if you think somebody's going to laugh at you, okay? Let's all read it together, okay, and see if we can do it. Origin. Actually, first we start with the first word and the bottom word. Origin, Oregon. Actually, here in Wisconsin, we have a town called Oregon, so it really throws me for a loop.
Don't complicate things.
I won't tell I will tell my students because they know about it. But anyway, let's go back. Origin, Oregon. The orangutan is rigid when playing his original orange organ, which is from the oregano region in Oregon. So, I mean, it's fun. It's silly. And you really had to pay attention. There's a lot of the OR. And then even OR and then G sprinkled around there. I mean, like the crazy combinations, right?
There's 2 focuses in this one that, I don't make it obvious, but there's 2 patterns to this one that are purposeful. The G, all right, you have to recall that G has 2 sounds. And depending on the letter that comes after it,
right.
that dictates if it's a hard or a soft G. This has all been taught at this point, right? I'm talking about 2nd to 6th grade and beyond. At least by 3rd grade, you should have covered that G has 2 sounds. So I'm forcing the reader to patiently reflect which G should I use in this situation. And I'm coming in saying that the 21st century child doesn't have that kind of patience. So they'll give you the first guess. And that's why you're going to trip over a lot of these words like Oregon, oregano, Oregon, region. Region's a good one. There's your soft G. Why is it soft? It's got an I after it. It's French in origin. And then again, can you read it from start to finish without tripping over yourself? Just like a tongue twister. So.
And this is a good question for as you keep developing these, Sean. Mim asks, do you provide the focus for each passage so teachers know what to hone in on?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to be honest with you, I've been writing these since December. It's the next step on my to-do bucket list, to-do list. Yeah, on my to-do list is to organize these into the different components and then write directions for you. And someday have a workbook, publish something that, and yeah, you can have you can have a lesson on the letter G this day, and there'll be a dozen or more of these in that chapter. And then that's all in my game plan.
I love it.
I'm just not there yet. So right now it's just random. I like the idea of just like authentic reading, when you open a text, again, whether it's information or literature, you're going to be randomly confronted with words like these. All right. So I like the fact that it's random, just like you would go to school and I don't know what I'm going to read today. I open up a page, boom, I have to have these, I call it mental gymnastics. You have to have these conversations with yourself, and they're you didn't see it coming here. All of a sudden I have to, the other pattern here is the G and the N. The G and the N can reverse. See the word orange? The N comes before the G, original. The G's before
Orangutan.
the N. Yeah. So that's another, that would be another lesson. So
this is a good question. Yeah, I was wondering, how I might not say orangutan right, orangutan. I say it with an ang. I'm from the South originally in the U.S., so that'd be interesting. We might, because Sean, we have folks here from Australia, sometimes New Zealand, South Africa, India, so we might have a lot of different pronunciations of that word in particularly. But yes, these resources, ladies and gentlemen, are being given away for free on his Facebook page. So you can just pull these images. I put this one, I just happened to put these several images into a PDF. So I can pull this up really easily for my students on distance learning. Misquotes and mosquitoes. Wow, there is very little difference between that. Isn't that amazing? And then he's also got videos where there is more word study, and we're going to show that next. Is that okay, Sean?
Great.
Rashir says, brilliant idea. We teachers need these things. Okay, and Elaine says, wow. An interesting point, Mackenzie. Yeah, we have in certain niches, teachers are putting a press on fluency, even in first grade and second grade, before kids have really developed strong sound-based decoding and even strong word identification, of course. And then sometimes it's not intended to do this, but it's sometimes by default become a press for speed alone. And so sloppiness is a natural byproduct of, and guessing sloppiness, then that kind of pushing kids. So that's not how fluency is intended, but it is something that we are encountering in certain quarters. Ironically, some people aren't doing fluency at all. Some people are just doing it with a focus on speed. So we've got issues. But let's show some of his videos. And these are fabulous because he's not only drawing attention to the tricky things in print, but he's also teaching morphology, vocabulary, and spelling. So it's all linking it together, which is one of the messages that we have here at Reading Simplified. And so I think this is a great example. They're short, they're colorful, and they're free. And so it's great for distance learning or when you're back in the classroom.
And okay, to Marty, before you hit play, the inspiration again behind the videos was that the situation presented itself where everyone was all the kids went home and their parents had to take over instruction. So I took into account that parents don't exactly know how to do this, and the fact that kids they're at home, they're in their comfort zone. They don't want to do school. School is for school. Home is for fun, and the two are now meeting, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. So how? I know as a teacher, all this research I've done and what I know about children and the, my description of the generation, I started creating the videos with a couple of things to take into account. I wanted them brief. I wanted them full of instruction. A parent only had to hit play. I designed them so they look like the prototype for the ed tech product that I hope to develop one day. But if you play one of these on your phone, it's a nice, clean visual, and it's 5 to 10 minutes of really solid instruction with a lot of elements. And I purposefully try to fit it into the attention span of the 21st century child. Yeah,
Sean, you probably need to steal this from Jordan. She says that short, colorful, and free, 3 of teachers' favorite words. So, okay, I'm using a software I don't often show video. So you guys tell me if we have sound. I might pull out my headphones just for a second. And let me know if you can hear it, and if maybe I can turn it up more if you can't.
Here's another video where I'm going to spend a few minutes decoding big words, and to give you some spelling tips too. I'm going to take a look at 2 words today.
Full screen on that.
Okay, I'm about to show you a word, and I want you to read it.
Can you hear it
right
first?
out
I
loud.
want to know if the audience can hear it
if
first.
You need more time, I'll try to give you enough. What's this word?
So here's the confrontation.
All right, think you got it. What's this word? Pretty close together, don't you think? The top word is innovative. The bottom word is inventive.
Oh,
They're really similar. Let's take a look.
Oh, there we go. Good.
They're similar because they start and end the same way. So we got to look at the middle of the word to see the differences. All right, innovative up top has an N followed by a V. towards the middle of the word. But inventive has a V followed by an N. And it's really easy when you're reading a big word like innovative, especially if you're in a rush, to reverse pairs of letters like N and B, especially that letter B. You can move around a lot. It's something your brain can do with letters. So it's very common, if indeed you said inventive when I showed you the first word innovative, you just reverse the V and the N. So take a good look there. The top syllable is nov, looks like nov, or could be nov, and down below is N. Another difference is innovative has an A right there in the middle. All right, so that's going to be an extra syllable. So get a look at that A, and we'll see what that's all about as we look at the root words of both of these. Innovative comes from a very old Latin word, innovatus. And from that Latin word, innovatus, we have in English the word innovate. And innovate means to introduce something new. All right. And innovate, you need to have an idea. Right? So to help you understand the word innovate, I'm trying to innovate right now, this very minute, making this video for you to help young readers. All right. And I started with an idea. So the word innovate is all about having an idea. Now, there's a silent E at the end of innovate. We're going to drop that silent E and add the suffix IVE. That's going to turn the verb innovate into an adjective, innovative. And anyone who's innovative has lots of ideas, right? You're probably innovative if you have a lot of ideas. And when you grow up, you might turn one of your ideas into something that'll help other people. All right, so let's look at the root of inventive. As you can guess, it's invent. That's an old Latin word too. We use in English. It means to create or produce something original from imagination. Invent is also a word that has to do with having ideas, right? You need to have an idea to invent something. So that's another reason these two words are similar, is they're both about ideas. So from the root invent, we're going to again add suffix IVE, and it turns the verb invent into the adjective inventive. And anyone who has invented anything. An inventor is inventive. Like the Wright brothers, for example. They invented the airplane. In fact, they were so inventive, they kept reinventing the airplane. You can see in this diagram, they had a version in the year 1900 and a different one a year later. And by 1903, you can see the difference in their invention. They were very inventive. Let's take a quick look at these syllables. In red is the stressed syllable, innovative. Innovative is a 4-syllable word. You can see at the end, I have taken the E kind of out of that word. It's important to know that while innovative sounds like T-I-V, a short I sound, tiv, it's actually the I-V-E suffix. Down below, inventive is a 3-syllable word. All right, we'll wrap up here. I want you to hit pause. Here's some little extra practice with some of these patterns. Keep this right out loud.
So there's the passage.
All right, that's it for today. Subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can find videos like this.
Oh, don't listen to that huckster.
To help you at home at your virtual school. And mom or dad can follow me on Facebook at the Fluency Awesomizer, where I have in my photos, and I post very often, I post decoding practice just like these. There are over 200 examples of these that'll keep you real busy to help you with decoding while you're home from school. All right, come back and see me again at the Fluency Awesomer, the Fluency Awesomizer. I'll see you next time.
I love it. That was fabulous. Just so good. People were really excited about that. Masha said she wants to be a kid again. And Padma, she's coming to us from India, Sean. That might be, that'd be cool for you. That she says, I love the detail in simple language. We got a little history lesson there too. I'm sorry, Lisa, that the video was breaking up for you, and if it, hopefully it didn't break up for everyone, but this replay will be here available on our Reading Simplified page. And also, if you're a Reading Simplified Academy member, it will be loaded in our Teachers Lounge. So, yeah, so make sure you head over to his YouTube page and get access to these types of things. And then also the Facebook page is where you would find the printed work, because he's been doing that longer than the YouTube, right? That the YouTube is a newer project, more COVID-19 related, although it's great how you're getting a lot more out of it. Most kids aren't going to pay attention if we give them etymological or morphological lessons for 45 minutes. But when we put something up in front of them that's pretty and moves and draws their attention to different parts for 5 minutes, they will pay attention, even this generation. And this is going to be some really good work that they're going to I think benefit from. Now, Lisa wants to know if you've gotten any PDFs. I bet some of your teacher fans will appreciate that if you can put that on your punch list. I know there's so much to do.
Yeah. I was going to say that I have a very long to-do list.
Yeah.
And PDFs is on there.
Okay, good.
But I could use an extra maybe 25 hours a day instead of 24.
Well, you know what? I have people in our community that have helped before. So if some of you teachers are, if you're ending up changing these into PDFs, you want to share them back to Sean, he may be really appreciative of that. So if you're using them, putting them into action, I'm sure he'll be glad to know how that's working. And Kay says she can't wait to use this with her grandson, and he's in 2nd grade. Perfect, exactly. And yeah, Carol says, look at what we've got covered here. We've got grammar, roots, vocabulary, decoding, and even spelling. Covers many standards, all for one 5-minute video. So excellent. Yeah, Donnell, just hit the subscribe button at YouTube. Okay.
Awesome.
So
thanks.
This is really exciting, you guys. Who's going to be using this? Who has kids that you can use it with? I know some of you are finishing up. Sadly, the school year has ended rather quickly and in a strange way. But I'm sorry about that if you've had to say goodbye already. But sounds like a lot of people are going to be using them. And so what's your next big vision? Is it to produce more? Is it to increase the video component? That's really a time intensive task, I know.
It is. It takes a few hours. And looking at my calendar, this is such an extraordinary moment. And it's May, even though schools are going to be in session virtually into June. I can just sense that the kids are giving up here in the middle of May. And so realistically, I'm looking at, there's a window of opportunity for me to keep creating content through August before people start taking school seriously in September. Whether we return or I'm worried we're not going to return. I don't think the general public is treating this with the seriousness that needs to be treated. And I just don't see schools, because there's so many, it affects so many people. I'm predicting virtual school through the fall. So that being said, I want to keep creating content. So come October, you can go to my YouTube channel and there might be 200 plus videos.
Wow.
And there'll be enough passages written where I can start talking to publishers and getting books out. Like the comment earlier,
organize it by sounds or something like that.
With some directions, some a mission of sorts. But the big piece to the effort that I'm putting into this is a business venture, obviously called the Fluency Awesomizer. You only see the research elements in the videos and the passages. I'm going to go ahead and show you. So when I started sorting the data on the generation, I noticed in school year 2008, 2009, when those kids, the 9/11 baby boom showed up in my 2nd grade, they instantly stopped being able to problem solve confidently. Something was going wrong. The next year was the same, it compounded. The year after that, compounded again. And I'm a creative person. I looked around, I realized I should start inventing things. So I I started creating.
Ooh, let me show that.
I would analyze. I had parent volunteers do sight word.
Show us again, Sean.
Yeah,
Sorry. Okay.
I had parent volunteers, and I would collect the running records, and I started sorting the miscues, and I created these hand-drawn flip book kind of things to use in my small groups. So this is like the beginning of what you're looking at today. And this here from 2009, you can see this one labeled January 2009. I noticed that the letter R was a problem.
Oh yeah.
And here I can turn and we can talk about inserting or taking the R out, make even nonsense words. But then I haven't used this in so long. Just trust me, there's a rhyme and a reason to it. But all the miscue research that I've done, I have the prototype of an ed tech tool. I'm going to show you. I have 6.
Cool.
1, 2.
Whoa.
3. You can count. I'm not gonna talking down to everybody. 6 baskets of a prototype where all of my patterns that have emerged, letter C confusion. All right.
Eccentric ascent. Love it. It's just fun to say.
So this is, all of these are differentiated. Depending on the pattern. You see level 1, this goes up to level 4. And I won't, but actually 2A and 2B. But anyway, there's 4 components to that. What I ultimately, I'm going to take that word ultimately back. One of the reasons I'm doing the passages and the videos is to get parents primarily, but also educators. Educators are really busy at school. It's hard to fit this stuff into the school day, right? You guys, I know you're thinking this. For that. I know you're thinking this. So this is an effort on my behalf to help parents in this situation, and I'm designing it so that educators can use it. But I know you're only going to be able to squeeze maybe 5 minutes in your day. That once things go back to normal, it's still going to be hard to plug this into your day. So I'm designing an ed tech tool. All of these components are going to be, from the videos you can imagine, I want all of these things to be on your phone, and I want to create an accommodation to individualize instruction. Myself now and then my business entity, we're going to come in, and the job we're going to do is we're going to get data from the students read aloud. All we need is 10 minutes. And based on my work, I can analyze that data. We can come up with, call it a prescription, a game plan.
Yep. Diagnostic instruction. Love it.
Right. So each student, I can tell you that the 3 biggies are the letter R, L, and N. If you listen into a group of kids, say 20 kids, over a period of a week, you'd be surprised how much trouble they have with the letter R, L, and N. So the majority of kids who are falling behind in reading by 3rd grade are probably having a problem with R, L, and N. I just don't think anyone's explored how can we address that. I'm coming in with a product that can address that. Cool. And I know it's not going to happen at school unless it's a special educator uses it. It's hard to, like I said, it's hard to carve out any more time for new ideas and new practices in school. So I'm creating it for the parents, which is why I'm oddly thankful that the situation that we're in has caused so many parents across the world to now look in at what their child is doing and realize we have a problem here. So that's awesome. Yeah, that's a big part of this, is that I've got something that you can't see from my passages in my videos. Where are you headed? What I'm trying to do is create a buzz. I'm trying to get people talking. Yeah. I want you to discover that there's a lot of guessing going on, that I can predict it. And that way you'll open your mind to the conversation I want to have with you. We can do something about this. We can innovate instruction, because the biggest effect that all educators can understand right now is test scores continue dropping now through 12th grade, and no one can explain why. I'm coming in, I'm saying this is why. The generation has been guessing for 10 years and they can't comprehend what they're reading because they're making too many miscues.
Word identification is a huge problem. Comprehension and knowledge of the world is also big, and that's so cool that you're combining the two, actually, because you're reminding them about the Wright brothers and the airplane. You're talking about Greek and Latin roots and all of that. So,
and you know, another element of it is I like I said in the beginning, my working theory is that brain development is being delayed because of overstimulation of the working memory with all the technology. Go to a restaurant and, you know, kids aren't learning to wait for food, that food takes time. Good food takes time. They're busy on their technology. That's cool. I don't have any opinion about that, but it has an effect on the student's ability in the classroom to problem solve. And one effect is that it's hard to recall previously taught information, like all these rules about our language. So that's why the guessing's coming in. And I'm coming in now saying test scores are dropping. And the reason is, when you're doing independent work, you're not having the conversations. You're not taking the time and finding this information in your brain. You're guessing and moving on because it's just as satisfying to get to the finish line with wrong answers than it is to struggle and fight and try your hardest and be the last person done on the test and get finished.
Yeah. It's
very satisfying to give up and get the answer.
Yeah. So Greg's going to put in the Facebook link for how to get, because someone was asking about this, how to get these written passages. Oops, how did I? Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
I'm going to prioritize.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I want to just we're going a little long, so I want to wrap up. But basically, you guys have access now to this amazing resources from the Fluency Awesomizer. You've got the print option and you've got the video option. You can do one or the other or both. And also, you have probably indirectly the reminder about the power of integrating reading and spelling, word study, morphological study. These kids who go through these types of things, if they see MENT or TION, they're going to start to understand the little parts of words that form bigger words. They'll become better readers and also have a more sophisticated understanding of the written language. So not only will this probably be intriguing for your kids, make them stay engaged, but I think as we use them as teachers, we'll probably be reminded about some of the cool things we can do with language. It's not just drill and kill. It's not just dull. It can be cool and entertaining and colorful and fun. And as I said earlier, free. So Melody is thankful. Here are the 2 pages. Go snag up this stuff and become a subscriber. And yeah, Melody says, thank you. Jordan says, thanks so much. Simple yet powerful, says Sharmi. Angela says, thank you so much. And Christina couldn't agree more. I was there too once myself. Christina, 6th grade teacher. They come to middle school and they are word guessers. I always tell them that we are done with that, but try something else. Morphology is the best. Yeah, and Anita's saying thank you for your dedication and inspirational materials. And Carol says she's going to share it. Mashir says she's going to, she's thankful for your amazing efforts. So yeah, this was a real success. Thank you for being here, Sean. What a treat and what a resource.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And please share with your friends and educators and parents and neighbors and all that stuff, everyone. I'm trying to solve a big problem. Yeah. And all this stuff I'm putting out there willingly for you to use. And I really appreciate the feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems, I thought to mention the flip books were really popular. So you might find teachers using them. If you take maybe this type of, see if I can bring this back without. Yeah, if you put that on a flip book too, I think you'd get some teachers using that at their literacy centers. But if you're not familiar with us here at Reading Simplified, we go live most Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern with complimentary trainings and resources. And sometimes we get some great guests and show great resources like this. So I hope you can join us again next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I would love to hear how some of Sean's ideas and tools have served your kids. We already had earlier, Terry said that she's already seen kids pay better attention to print because of them, because she heard about them earlier. So that's a good early word. So thank you. Mim says, thanks for sharing your stuff generously, and good luck on that next ed tech initiative. And everybody, thanks for being here. Here's to making great readers.
Good night.